All right, guys, welcome to the 1% podcast. A little bit of a different setup going on. I don't know where to look. Do I look at a camera or do I look at Steph? But I'll let Steph kind of dive into her intro.
I think you need to pull your mic a little bit closer.
Do I? Am I getting flagged up?
So.
Yeah.
You need to put it towards your mouth.
Like
that? Yeah, that's better. So
Okay.
like speak into it. Pro over here. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be on the 1% podcast. Okay. I'll introduce one and then.
Yeah, go for
Cool.
it.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Let's Talk Bikini podcast. Today, I have myself and my partner on this podcast. So a little bit of a different guest, but we are both in prep at the same time.
Yeah.
We're 5 weeks deep, 5.5 weeks deep. Yeah. So we've got 14.5 weeks to go and 20-week prep. So 5.5 weeks deep. So what better time than to talk about prep and the mindset with athletes and kind of a bit of relationships and prep as well, since we're both prepping together at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. I know it's been a while since we've actually done anything. Like the last one we did, we sat on a sofa and did a bit of a podcast. So life for us has definitely been interesting over the last, probably since a year since we've done a podcast. So Steph, how you been?
Great.
What's been going on?
So as you guys probably all know, haven't mentioned it on the podcast, but I prepped last year. Had to pull the pin out for 5 weeks, unfortunately. It was completely out of my control. But it was the best prep I've ever had. It was flawless. I loved every single second of it. I started off the prep pretty fluffy, so I knew I had a lot of work to do. And I actually ended up, dropping a lot of weight really fast. I had really great conditioning, kept fullness relatively well.
Look at me.
And was ready. Sorry. And I was pretty much already ready at the 5 week out mark. Yep. So it was a bit devastating that I had to pull out of prep. And since then, a lot of life stuff has gone on.
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm a bit traumatized from that last prep being pulled out from underneath me. Prep was perfect, but just the whole having to pull out.
Yeah.
Was a bit traumatizing in itself. So this prep has been a whole new mindset adjustment. So always got to kill a mindset, of course, but in the back of my head, just that little bit of trauma to overcome in terms of finishing this prep and finally getting on stage. So feels like it's been a very long prep, just because I've just been waiting to finally get on stage after over a year and a half.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think for both, but mostly for you as well, like it's a confidence booster as well. It's kind of to like get past that little bit of trauma, that little bit of a hurdle, isn't it, as well? It's kind of like, it's definitely one for you more than anything. Because you looked 5 weeks out last time, like when you said you had to pull the pin. And for you, I know how hard that was, because you control everything. And if you're not in control of something, you're like, fuck. But I think that definitely hit you. It hit you hard, but I think initially it was okay, but then I think it built, didn't it, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I think it was more so just like that athlete mindset kind of thing. Once you're locked into something, you're locked in, and you do whatever it takes to get there and bring your best. Like that's what the athlete mindset is all about. So for about 4 weeks before we had to pull the pin, of fighting, wouldn't stop. Yeah. Even when we had to pull the pin, I refused to pull the pin and kept prepping. But that's the only ever time I've had to pull out of a prep was that one. And COVID, when COVID cancelled our shows. So literally the only time I've had or would pull out of a prep was when it was completely out of my control. So both times I continue to prep for another 4 weeks before accepting and coming out of prep.
I think that's a very hard thing for an athlete to do. I can't relate it from bodybuilding at all, but I can always relate from previous sports and things like that. it takes not even self-awareness to an extent, but to know what's right to do at a certain time. Because I think when people think fitness and things like that, they push past a certain point, whether that's health, whether that's lifestyle factors, even if it's financials and things like that. They're willing to push past that sometimes. And will it make things worse? Probably. And I think for you being like, you could have kept going, but the outcome was non-existent. There would have been no kind of good outcome from it. But actually, the outcome you had was, if we look back at it, everything fucking happens for a reason. How much have we said that over the last 6 to 8 months? You got very lean. You kept a very good condition. You stayed in that mindset for a good period of time. You reversed out, probably very good reverse. And actually, this time round, you're having the mind fuck. We're both having the mind fuck of scale weight right now, but you're completely recomping into this prep just because you kind of knew long term, right? I'm going to be prepping around this time period. So it kept you sane over that crazy period. And you utilize that time well. Like, you've got a completely different body composition that you entered your first prep in. A lot less body fat. And it's going to equal to a good outcome in 14 and a half weeks.
Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking on strange beginnings of prep, if anyone's been following along on my Instagram stories, weight has not moved, barely at all. Started at 64.2 and now at 63 kilos. So 5.5 weeks in, it's only budged 1.2 kilos. But as Brendan mentioned, basically been recomping into the beginning of this prep, which is crazy, not expected, but it means that, that we're getting what we want in terms of if we're getting fuller and we're getting leaner at the same time, then that's essentially what you want, right? You don't want to be turned out looking skinny or flat when you get on stage.
Yeah. Well, I think people think bodybuilding gets this thing, when you're not first time competitors, maybe you've done a couple of shows, maybe you still see it as a dieting competition. It's not a fucking dieting competition. It's a bodybuilding competition. And personally, I think you need to focus your performance in training needs to just continue to drive. That is going to be the biggest thing. And I think that's what you're seeing as well. Vice versa. I'm of course, when we get to 6 and 5 weeks out, things will start to get a little bit slower. But even then, I'm don't have the mindset of going into a prep and think dieting competition. You've still got, most of the time I would prep clients 18 to 20 weeks. I'm you can still make massive progress over that first 8 to 10 weeks. So don't just try and hammer away at body fat. Think of it actually get stronger in this process, still grow, still develop as well. No one gives a fuck how many calories you eat and how many cardio sessions you do and how many steps you do. Judges don't care about that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And bodybuilding is all about a look. It's not about chasing a number on the scales. It's not about how much weight you lift in the gym. It's not about how much you weigh on stage versus someone else's weighs on stage. Or a big one that people talk about is body fat percentage, skin folds. No one cares.
Who gives a fuck?
No one cares when you're on stage. But it's all about a look, right? And if you understand bodybuilding, you understand that the look that we're looking for is full round muscle bellies. Conditioning, depending on your criteria as well, is going to depend on what conditioning they're actually looking for. Are they looking for separation through the muscles? Is it slight separation? Is it deep separation? All those parts of the criteria are very, very important. And if you're seeing it as just a shredding competition or a dieting competition, chances are you're not going to fit the criteria and you're probably going to over diet and you're going to be flat and lose the fullness.
I think you just have a shit experience.
Yeah.
If you just keep thinking of it I just need to drop weight, there is a huge difference between weight and fat. If I just say, hey, drink 2 liters of water, you haven't gained fat. You're just fucking heavier because of water. Weight and fat is very different. Like you say, obviously for bikini, it's kind of a bit different. You don't have a weight criteria. Obviously I do. I'm not going to have an issue fitting into it, but there is a limit to an extent. But even then it's if you're focused on the weight, sometimes as well, even just the calories and things like that, to focus on the shit that really doesn't matter and you're taking away from your training performance and your execution and in a sense, you shouldn't be doing this if you don't love training, if you don't like this lifestyle, because like this prep actually took us a couple of weeks to be like, are we doing this? Are we doing this prep? Like even to you, it was longer, wasn't it? Like you felt it like 3 or 4 weeks in, like you're like, oh, because my life has not changed. Besides sushi on a Saturday night, that's about it.
Yeah. And trust me, when you love the sport and you love the process, your off season and your preps don't look much different. Probably just cardio and some more steps in the hallway when it's in the middle of Dubai summer.
That's it. But I am looking forward to the creamy coming in though. When the food gets a bit lower.
Well, that's our weekend treat at the moment, having those creamy ice creams. But off season or in prep, that's, our food sources stay pretty much the same. When we get towards the end of prep, don't know if you'll change your food sources, but I know I get a little bit tighter and cleaner of just taking out the WPI protein, change it to egg whites, all those little things that make a difference. So
yeah, I think in those last kind of, I don't know when you do that, like, to be fair, you don't do sweeteners, do you? No, I don't think neither of us do sweeteners.
No, I don't even do seasonings or any sauces at the moment.
Nah, I do sauces. I do like that Frank's Red and stuff and like mustard. But yeah, even like you say, when I could probably get to like 4 weeks out, like just salt and pepper. Yeah. I think that's just, again, like, you don't have to do that. We're not saying to anyone that you have to do that. Like, don't, especially in a bodybuilding or prep process, like the more variables that change, the worse you'll look on stage. So like the more things you can keep consistent, like that sometimes keep your sanity. Like for example, I'll always have like almond milk or coconut milk with my coffee in the morning. I don't fucking track it, but it's just consistent. It's literally like splash, done. But it's the things that I enjoy waking up to. And having those those joy, is one sweetener a day really going to fucking make a difference to a look? Probably not, if it looks after your cortisol levels. So it's like, I think that's just the obsessive personality in us being like fucking cold turkey, like let's get rid of all this shit 3 weeks out and just, but
I'm also works. Just saying it's the 1%ers, right? All those little 1% things that
could make a difference.
But more so I find it mentally makes a difference. Like if you know you did all those 1% things and you ticked all those things off, there's no room for doubt and error in your mind, right? So same thing with training execution. You feel like shit, but you go and you get your session done to whatever 100% to whatever you had in you that day. So just because 100%. You might be operating at 40% that day, if you go 40%, then realistically you operate at 100%.
Yeah.
We're human. We're not going to be perfect. But the more we can, tick the boxes and fill in the 1%ers where we can, then you'll get on stage and you'll know that, you brought you.
Yeah, I definitely think obviously, we're talking at two different ends of the spectrum, right? Because obviously, like, you're a pro, I'm an amateur, right? So like, and even for me, it's like, it's that realization, I think, why would you compete if you don't want to do very well, right? But when you have to look at pro rankings, you be like, you are a professional. That is the way that you have to treat this. Like, you're a professional athlete, so you need to act like a professional athlete. And maybe not enough pros do. Do you know what I mean? Especially new pros. Like you say, those 1%, are they doing those 1% things? Like you say, are they going to the gym at 99%? That would make a difference on show day. Or vice versa. Like you say, it would make a difference in your head. You're like, I didn't know the way that it looked because I fell short on like 1, 2, 3 areas. Why take that risk?
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I do agree with, like, you don't have to be a pro to have the athlete of a mindset. I think no, like you're quite a clear example. Anyone that doesn't know my partner, he was a professional athlete in his previous sport of kayaking, which how long did you do that for? What ages?
Oh, I think I started at 11 and I came off the national team at like 20, 21.
Yeah. Okay. So very, very long time. And especially in those teenage years where you can imagine it's just ingrained into you. Yeah. So even though you haven't been bodybuilding as much or as long as I have, you naturally have all those abilities and those key fundamentals that an athlete has and is important to becoming a really great athlete. And I think when I met you, that was one of the biggest things that I noticed. Like, I know I'm a very good athlete in terms of my mindset and
Yeah.
ticking the boxes and my intensity and what I do. But I think when I met you was the first time that I met someone that was more like more than me in terms of an athlete aspect. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was a bit
Fair.
wow. And of course, like, you know, that transfers into other areas of your life as well. And regardless of if you're new to the sport and have, you know, already had those capabilities in a previous sport, or if you're aspiring to be a pro, having the mindset of the athlete and the drive is an inevitable thing. You're going to progress. You're going to do really well to whatever level that you can do, as long as you know, have that key. If you don't have it, then you're only wasting your own potential.
Do you think you can learn it? I think this is do you think you can actually learn intensity, work ethic?
I think you can, to an extent. You need to have the understanding and be coachable in the first place, I think. Like, for example, I guess I was a little bit different when I started bodybuilding, but you've got to be open to being coachable and to listen and to be willing to learn. It's like any master of anything is continuously learning. If you think that you know it all and that you're perfect, you're not going to progress. You're going to that
fixed mindset will stall you.
Yeah, you're already done. So as long as you don't have a fixed mindset and you can build it over time. I think your environment is a big part as well, like who you surround yourself with. Vice versa, you know, like if you're, for example, previous to bodybuilding, I was a massive party animal and hanging around the wrong people. And of course, when I transitioned and started doing well in bodybuilding, naturally those friends and environments fell away, and I developed new ones, which you see a lot with people that, especially like, you know, new clients, people new to the sport. You see that happen all the time, which is, it's at the time doesn't feel great, but it's kind of a beautiful thing because it means that you're growing and you're outgrowing your environment. But if you aren't willing to let go of the old you or your old environments, then there's no hope.
Yeah. I think it's a funny one, isn't it? Because like, I don't know if you can learn it. It's a weird one. I don't know if you can learn it, like the real grittiness of discipline and like hard work and things like that. I think there is something wrong in your brain sometimes. I think there is some form of obsession. That could be through anything. That could be through a job. That could be someone else's passion, through coding. I don't know. I don't know if every human being has it. I don't know.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I did like 100%, like you say, like I think environmental causes and I think all these types of things are massive. I definitely think if you have a vision of becoming someone that you're not right now, so if like, I think like deep down, probably even when you did your first show, like it seems like the way that you talk about like your first shows, your first couple of shows, you knew that this was going to be a very long time thing. And I think you knew probably deep down that you're like, I will be a pro one day. So like that future you're always thinking about. It might have just been in your subconscious, like you're kind of not aware of it, but it's one of those things that kind of keeps you going. It's the same thing. How much like fucking shit, like of just ups and downs that we had over the last 6 months, 8 months, and we're like, I'm done. I just want to curl up and fucking done. But then you sat here and you're like, we're still going. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's probably comes from a personality standpoint, to be honest.
Upbringing's probably a big one.
Yeah, upbringing. I know that when I start something, I'm either like fixated, all in, or I don't give a fuck, literally. So I guess when I started bodybuilding, I knew that. And I don't know, it's probably an autistic thing. Apparently I've got mild autism. I was diagnosed with, which I love. I was like, yeah, okay, that's great. That explains a lot of my personality. But as it is, like when I do something, I do it and I keep going until I perfect it, and I'm a perfectionist. So I'll just keep fine tuning until, you know.
Yeah.
till you become perfect, which is never.
Which is never, yeah. Kind of like you said, diving back to obviously being like, you say like amateurs acting like pros sort of thing. Like you said, you get, because you see it now, you see these top amateur bikini girls, you see like, and you're like, they're literally like this close. They have what it takes, and sometimes there's just someone a bit better on the day and things like that, but they're literally just one show away. Might be next week, might be next year type of thing. I think this is where we can separate the world a little bit. We see it in Europe, even Australia is a prime example. Like when you see pros, they're very, very good, because obviously the chances of actually getting a pro card are a lot lower in Europe, and then like vice versa, Australia, I don't know anyone else. But then on the US, like there was a stat, wasn't there? It was like 3/4 of pro cards go out in the US. And like the standard is very different. It is very different.
Yeah.
So when you see like top amateurs that turn pro, I'm like, they're ready to go on a pro show tomorrow. They're ready to step on stage the next day. It's like you did your pro show the next day, and you probably lined up with those girls, and you probably looked like you held your own on that stage. Vice versa, if you did it in the US, like you probably get fucked. Like
You do notice that with, like, for example, Australian amateur athletes, like when you go over to the amateur Olympia USA. And I clicked onto this quite early on as an amateur, which is the reason why I used to always compete over in the USA as an amateur. But in America, it's saturated, and there's so many pro cards that are given out there. So all the other countries, including Australia, are actually really, really strong. And just because it's the USA, everyone thinks, oh, wow, the USA is so hard, like so prestigious, like such a big show to do. Whereas like if as an Australian, if you actually go over there, it's actually easier. It's probably easier than doing a national show in Australia, to be quite honest. And like Australia's got really good athletes.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, 100%. Like, I think it's the same as a lot of these countries that have very little pro cards that are given out, because in order to be the best, you've got to fucking get up there, and that's hard work. Again, I don't know, but like I'm talking it again from just relating it from another sport. Like I know how hard it is to get to those third rankings, first rankings, second rankings, and it's years, 100%. So like, that's probably when. I think this is when probably like the whole social media game comes into play, because maybe America somehow has more exposure and things. I don't fucking know, right? But there's a lot more bodybuilding as like US, California, Arnold Schwarzenegger and things like that, right? Back in the day. So maybe if you looked at it from a social media map, maybe the US has more reach on the world. So people just assume, oh, getting your pro card's pretty simple. You're like, yeah, for them, maybe not for them. Do you know what I mean? But for the rest of the world, you do have to be like, I've watched a bunch of shows in Australia now with 3 seasons? Yeah, 3 seasons in Australia. And you see all these girls, you're like, pfft. Vice versa, the guys, and they're fucking good. Like it's splitting hairs.
If you compare 2 pro cards a year compared to what USA had two national shows, 2 weekends in a row, and there was so per division, so 8 high classes per division. First and second place go pro cards. So that's, if you do the math, that's 16 pro cards for one.
In just bikini, yeah.
In just bikini alone, yeah. So if you, of course, that's only 2 weekends, right? So 2 weekends, 16 times 2 is 32 pro cards in bikini. So
but then they probably have shows every weekend besides 2 months of the year. December, January, maybe.
Close, yeah. Obviously, it all won't be at that amount of pro cards they're giving out.
No, but there'll be one every weekend
at
other shows. Yeah. Yeah, it just puts into kind of, I think, I can't remember who said it. I think it was Cal, pro coach. They gave out the stats on it. So they worked out how many NPC competitors competed in last year or the year before, and then how many pro cards. It was under 1% chance of getting your pro card.
In the rest of the world?
The whole world. So they worked out all NPC entries or something like that. And then it worked, and from 150,000 or 200,000 competitors, it was 0.8%. is the pro card.
Yeah, okay.
So it's under 1% chance of winning your pro card.
Interesting.
It puts it into reality, because I think people like, it's become very fashionable. People do their first couple of shows and they do a shoot and things like that. Vice versa, coaching. I got in shape, now I can coach people. Like, it's really fucking hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And unless you like we said, like, unless this is just, you love it and you're not in a race to do it, then just keep going. I mean,
Yeah, for sure. Well, you definitely have to love the process and the journey to be able to get to that caliber anyway. Well, we shouldn't even be doing it in the first place if you don't enjoy the process of,
no.
Competing, dieting, and seeing how your body evolves, and the challenge side of it as well. It's a massive one. You shouldn't love the challenge.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're aiming to be a pro card contender, I think this is where it's really important to check yourself.
Yeah.
In terms of your daily habits, your routines, your mindset, your actions, right? Because when you see people that are bound to turn pro and they're worthy of turning pro, you see them in the gym each day putting in the work. They're consistent. They put in the time to, again, be consistent. Even if they're not aiming to get on stage for a year, 18 months, 2 years, they're putting that consistency and they're growing to get there, right? Versus if you just slacking off in the off season and then you're scrambling to get the work done in a 5 month window, doesn't matter how great you are, you're always going to fall short. And vice versa. I've seen before firsthand. One of my own clients put in 2 years of the work, did really, really great, and then once you get close to that pro card and you get a nice taste for it, like you've got to know when to go take a little bit of time off and come back.
Yeah.
Like you need to know when to pull back and when to push. And if you're so close, but you can be so close, but you can also be so close for 3 years and then drop off the radar. So make sure, if you're close, then you're confirmed pretty much next season. If you go and do the work and come back, you're going to win it. But if you keep burning yourself out and keep expecting to be handed to you next season, it's not going to happen. We've seen that.
Yeah. I think, like you say, the biggest thing is, like, regardless of even if you just like fitness and you like working out and you like doing these things, if you want to get in shape, regardless if you're just like a mum or dad or whatever it is, even if you're a NPC or you're like a new competitor and things like that, you need to build athletic traits. I'm all for that. So like, I know you do this because obviously we see each other do it every day. Teach clients, like, become an athlete. How are your time management skills? Like, how do you conduct yourself in the day? How is your organization? When are you most productive in the day? Like, you're only training 5 hours, whatever, a week, right? 5 sessions, maybe you do an hour and a half session. It's not much, but how you conduct yourself in those other 23 hours is what defines you, I think, more than anything. 100%. So show up in the gym and fucking kill it like you should. But those other 23 hours a day, 7 days a week is what makes you. That's the stuff that no one sees.
Yeah, I agree. And show up to your check-ins.
That's always a big one. That is always a big one, yeah. But yeah, that's... Again, can you teach that? I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose. It comes down to personality, right?
Yeah, that's it. But you excited this for it?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm a little bit in the back of my head. I've got a little bit of trauma that's holding me back, as you know. So, but, this prep's all about, I just want to feel like myself again and I just want to be a pro. Like, I won my pro card 2019, and then since then it's been... I haven't felt myself on stage. I feel like all my pro card 2019. Of course, I went into COVID. Also had some other personal life things, but since then, I don't feel like I've brought me to the stage. After that, I did the Australian Bikini Pro Show, and I came fourth, which is pretty solid. But I still didn't feel like I brought myself to that stage either, right? I could see just myself, how I, like, mentally, I guess, as well, and physically, physically more so, but it wasn't me. And then the next season after that, I went to America. That was rushed again. Borders opened. We got excited, rushed the prep to America. And now it's been 2.5 years since I've been on stage. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just doing this as fresh as my pro career now. I'm counting it from this season as the beginning of my pro career. And You know, like when I started as an amateur athlete, I didn't have expectations to win back then because I knew the longevity of it. I
Yeah.
knew the direction that I was going in, and I knew myself that I would keep showing up and I would keep building myself to get to where I wanted to go. And that's what I'm doing now. Is from what I did when I started as a very first amateur to winning my pro card is what I'm doing now in my pro career. I will start where I am, build myself up, and then, you know, obviously everyone's goal is to make it to the Olympia. So when that happens, it will happen. But in the meantime, I want to be me, and I want to give me to my preps and give back to the sport.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's definitely been, well, that's pretty much it. Was I met you, oh God, I shouldn't get this wrong on camera, should I? You won 2019, then 2020. So the end of 2021? No, I get confused with the years.
It was
end of
I
2021.
moved to Dubai in end of 21. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's 2022. Is that correct? No, I feel like that's wrong.
No, that you.
No, I moved to Dubai in 2020.
The end of 2020, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
okay,
then
that makes sense.
And
yeah.
America was
Yeah, that's it.
2021.
And even we've been together 2.5 years, and we've had our ups and downs. You've moved country. There's been ups and downs in between, and it's been 2 years of building a relationship. It's been 2 years of moving abroad. It takes time. So like, again, you've learned so much about yourself. And again, like the older you get, you just feel more content in yourself. And now everything happens for a reason. Now you're just at the perfect time just to fucking send it. And hopefully the Olympia you qualify for is in Vegas. I don't want to go to the Orlando one for my first one.
Yes, I agree. Please never take it back to Orlando, guys.
They say it's nicer though, don't they?
Pardon?
They say it's nicer though, don't they? Everyone says it's like a nicer venue for the athletes
The
because it's not
venue,
small.
yes. I've been to the venue myself. That's where one of my pro shows was, at the same venue as the Olympia in Orlando. It's a great venue. It's big. It feels like a proper big.
Oh, is it that one?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the one that you came.
Oh,
yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's cool, but it was, yeah.
Yeah, like the venue itself
Yeah.
is great,
Massive,
but the Orlando itself, how it's
It's a bit fuck all
the
there,
layer
isn't it?
of actual Orlando
Yeah.
and around the rest of the surroundings of the convention center isn't great. It's not the same as Olympia in Vegas.
Yeah.
It's not the same as walking down the street and,
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
you know, grabbing one of the Bikini Olympians and having a chat with
Yeah.
them in the street, and then everyone going out to like Cheesecake Factory or whatever. Like it's different. And you know what Orlando feels like. It's very...
Yeah, it's just very, it's just, I kind of imagine what Vegas feels like. So I'm like, it can't compare. Or vice versa, just bring the Olympia to Dubai and let Dubai blow it
Yeah,
up.
that'd be cool. Well, even if we could just get a female category in the Dubai Pro, that would be awesome. Bikini, please.
That'd be good to watch next weekend. That'd be a good little spark for this prep.
Yeah.
That'd be good fun. But yeah, it's definitely been, it's been a roller coaster. It has. Again, even now prepping together, you're like, it feels actually quite easy prepping together now because we've done our get to know you shit part of the relationship, right?
Yeah. We've broken up in both of our previous preps.
Yeah.
When I say previous preps, I was in prep, I broke up with him.
And
then his prep was next, and then again, did I break up with you? I think so.
Yeah. But it's just, again, it's like, it's funny, isn't it? Every relationship that does well goes through that.
Yeah, you go through the shit
They
in the
go
beginning.
through the shit. Yeah, that's it. And you come out and you're like, oh, actually, this person's amazing. I want them part of my life. And even now, it's like, we know how we react and vice versa. We're actually both I'm a pretty anxious person. You're actually sometimes pretty anxious at times as well. And it's kind of like, we know each other. We know how, like, there's always going to be your relationship at the end of the day. You're always going to bump heads at some stage. But it's just knowing, like, we have that deep part of the relationship now. And that's like, again, I know that people struggle with that. People struggle with that when they go on a fitness journey. Like, it's very hard for people around them to understand.
Big one.
Yeah. And it is, again, like it was for us. Exactly. Prime example. We don't know how people react in like dieting phases. We don't know how, again, me being assisted, taking X amount of hormones. What is that extra androgen load doing to someone? Right. So it's like me being self-aware enough to be like, I'm tired. This is anabolics as well. That's making me feel a bit more anxious and things like that. Like, you can never blame it, but it enhances everything. So it's like you're very aware of those things. And then vice versa, like I love you and I adore you. So I'm like making sure that I'm doing my best never to take it out on you or how I feel on those days. But it's hard. It is hard. But
You are making you sound like you're a crazy person, but you're very far from that.
Yeah. Like no one's anyone can sit here and try and like be like, oh, I'm a good human being. And like, we both have our moments. Everyone has their moments. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm the perfect human being ever. But I definitely know mistakes that I've made and I've learned from those mistakes and I can see them now. And now I can react to them and I can respond to them differently and things like that. And again, you're just like, you're 2 years older, man. I ain't got time for shit. Like, I haven't got the energy. I'm like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But I guess in any relationship, but in particular in a comp prep, because of course, like comp preps, it's a 24/7 job, right?
Yeah.
And it's so important that you have a partner that supports you, start off with, like makes it easier if they understand the whole entire process, but like you know, support's a big one.
Yeah. I don't think people sit down though. I don't think people sit down. Like if your partner isn't into bodybuilding, maybe they can support you. There's like, they're your world, right? They're your fucking rock. They got you. I still don't think enough people sit down and explain how things look. But then do enough coaches tell them this is how the process looks as well. So like if you have a first time competitor or a first time person that just wants to get in shape and they talk about, right, you've actually got to track your calories. You've got to kind of do all this sort of thing. You have to be organized with your meals. Does that person then go away and sit and talk to their partner and explain this process? I'd say 90% of the time, no.
Yep. I agree.
Communication, right?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, who knows, right? Like it's, especially if it's your first time and if you've been with someone for years, they might not expect it themselves if it's their first time doing it. But most of the time people don't communicate. But also like they don't, like relationships take sacrifice, right? Like it's never 50-50.
No, never.
And you don't need to do the exact same thing, you have the exact same interests, but you need to understand and support each other why that they're doing it. But I think we obviously communicate very, very well.
I think we had to. We didn't, right? We didn't at the start, and that's why things didn't work. And then you're like, well, actually, just like, what's the big deal? Just tell them how you feel. If people don't like that, they can leave. You don't have to be a dick about it. But like, you can be polite and be like, this is how I feel. And things like that. It's not personal. It's just how you feel. It's how the individual feels. And then your partner would support you and be like, cool, I fully understand. And even like, if your partner truly supports you, they would want you to do this for you. If you need to do this, go and do this. So if you say to me like, oh, I've got to like travel to America with the girls and I've got to like prep them and then I've got to go here and things like that. I'm like, I support you in your career. So I'm like, just go. Like, you don't even need to ask. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, would I like it? I'm like, oh no, because I'm going to be away from her. But I'm like, if you support them, you'll let them go do what they need to do for their own life and their own development. Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that for sure. I'm just trying to think back to, previous relationships that I've, not myself, but I mean like, clients, friends that have been in the industry and like it is a hard sport. It really is, especially if your significant other is very social or, of course that doesn't really help in prep. Like you end up becoming a bit of a hermit at the end stages, but again, it probably comes down to if they understand it and if they've experienced it, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, even if your partner does something different, even if it's not fitness, if you're like, especially as coaches, when you run your own business, it isn't like a 24/7 job. We do our best to 7:30, we switch off, we're done. But there is still sometimes messages. There is like things need to be done when you want to achieve something that's not normal. You do have to make extra sacrifices in life. So like if your partner wants to start a business, like be prepared that they're going to have to work late nights and early mornings to get what they need to get done. it can come in many different fields, right? It's the same. It's like fitness is obviously just one of those ones that I think people have a relationship with food and they see it as like food's massive. Like that's the reason why we've celebrated it for millions of years, right? Food's a big cultural thing and things like that. So it's like people want to celebrate with food and things like that. So it's a social thing. So kind of when you take that away, it's like, oh, it's like going out for coffee. You get everyone to go out for coffee because it's a social thing. So like kind of taking that aspect away is quite a lot. It's a big lifestyle factor, right? Like you say, when people are social bunnies and they want to go out for dinner on a Friday night, have a couple of drinks.
Yeah, I agree. Hence why I've been struggling to think of date night events.
It's pretty lame. We're pretty bad.
Yeah, prep suitable.
Yeah. But that's the thing as well. Like even like us, we were like, okay, we need to make an effort now. So like, right, okay, even like we're going Protein House this weekend, right? We'll go on Saturday night, we can catch a movie or something like that. And we just need to make sure that more so that we do it. Like we went bowling and it's not for long. It's just like for an hour, but it just takes ourselves away. And it's like, it just pulls us out of work and it just pulls us kind of out of bodybuilding for an hour sort of thing. And it just allows us time just to be like, oh, this is another person, the person that I'm dating sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah, that's it. And it's important to do. So it's not fucking easy.
Mm. Yeah. I think it's important to set non-negotiable times like date nights. And
you're good at that. You are good. Yeah.
I do love my food though. You're not gonna lie. I like my foodie date nights. That's probably one thing I do miss in prep. But
yeah,
at the same time, I don't really notice it. To be fair.
No, but then in the end, it's short term, right? It's a short term sacrifice, and I won't be prepping next year, depending on how everything goes your end. Like I know you'll take a bit of an off season for progress and stuff like that after this anyway. So it's like cool. Like then we've got Christmas and things like that. At the end of the day, it's 20 weeks, 23 weeks total, pretty much for us now. It's not that long on the grand scheme of things. Not when you're like, we got the rest of our lives. It's cool. We can go out for dinner afterwards.
Yeah, I agree.
But like you say, non-negotiables are very important in a relationship for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think relationship-wise? Why do you think we work so well? And because there's like this lot of like what's the word for it? That the dating culture these days, it's very very
flippy. Like it's in with the out with the in with the new. Whatever, do you know what I mean? Like you date someone for a couple of weeks and you move on to the next person, or you date someone for like 6 months and they're done. I think everyone thinks grass is always greener is a big one. I think people definitely, they try and find the fucking perfect human being. And like, it's all like I think it's quite good that some of this content's out there and stuff like that. It's pretty brutal. But there's like this one, if you ask women, they're like, I want a guy that's 6 foot. I want a guy that has this income. He does this and does that. And they worked out that guy is like 2% of the world.
Meanwhile, these females are probably just like, don't even have a job.
Yeah, just showing their bum hole on OnlyFans or something.
Took that right out of my mouth. But but I totally agree with you, right? Like as females, we've got a big list. And think back to when I was single, I was quite stubborn and didn't want to get into a relationship either. And I was like, I want this, and this. But I think there's like a core kind of values and core kind of a core checklist in a way, right? And that's your non-negotiables in a person.
You always say morals, don't you?
Yeah, morals and values. I think morals and values are probably the biggest one. Like I think we align very well on morals and values, which is why we work so well. And we're kind of yin and yang, right? Like you're a little bit of more of a chilled and under control. I can be a bit steamy.
Yeah, I think it is very yin. I don't think you can, I don't know, maybe you can, but I don't think you can be with someone that's very much the same as you. I think you'll just bang heads too much. I think you do have to be very opposite sort of thing. In order, I guess, opposites attract, right? But I think it is just having, I think when someone brings to the table the values that you truly want, then all it is externally is that you're looking for the short-term gratification. So as a male, you're like, she's prettier, or whatever. That's pretty much it. She's more attractive. That's about it for a guy. But yeah, it's a typical thing. And then as a male, they always want that next fix. They always want that next endorphin rush, or they want that next attention and things like that. Or they're like, because when you get into a relationship for 2 years, do you get the same, or 2 years? Is it the same flirty stage as it was for the first 6 months? No, not at all. But then that's it. So it gets 6 months and that flirtiness and that kind of lust starts to like dissolve. People move on and they're not getting what they want. But then when do ever people sit down and be like the third date being like, this is how I receive love? What, like, do you know what I mean? Like no one does that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, I think you do need to continuously put in that effort, right? Like I feel like, for example, our relationship, it's gotten stronger over time. I wouldn't say that, you know, the flirtiness and stuff has dropped off. If anything, it's probably gotten more.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. More inappropriate.
So it's, yeah, I think it's because we put in effort, but we also share mutual respect and mutual values and core values and stuff.
I think
that makes sense. Yeah. Whereas like both of us aren't the type of people to like, you know, we understand what we both bring to the table and we're not looking for that next fix. And I don't know, like we have this mutual respect and the same morals. And I think upbringing wise, we're probably very similar, very similar with that as well. Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. We've got 10 minutes left apparently.
Cool.
No, I think once you, like you say, I think for me, there's certain checklists, of course. But I think also again, from day one, like I felt love from you. I think that's a very, very big thing. Like as a male, I don't think we need much to an extent. I think obviously there's certain things like I want obviously the right love. I know that I get the right support and things like that. And you are independent as well. It's not like I have to carry you and things like that. And again, that's one of the reasons I remember like the first time we sat and fucking stayed up till fucking 4 a.m. just chatting shit one night, right? And we just talked about business and life and training and things like that. And when someone has that, my thing's the drive in you as well, right? When someone's very driven, that's a very attractive personality trait. When do you ever talk to someone and be like, I just want to work this job for 50 years and just earn? It's not a very attractive trait, is it? But if someone's like, I'm going to want to fucking climb Everest and I want to do that, you're like, yeah, that's fucking cool, isn't it? Like that is more attractive. And vice versa, I think fitness is as well. I think when you look after your body and you kind of look after what you eat, that's an attractive trait. Because then your partner stays healthy, they stay sexy and things like that. So I think it can come in many forms.
Yeah. I think we are quite similar in that mindset though. Like obviously I packed up and moved to Dubai, so did you.
Yeah.
So you have that it's a mutual kind of
running away from something.
I wouldn't say running away from something. COVID.
No, that was pretty much it. Yeah. That's the only reason we ended up there. Yeah. But no, you're just kind of chasing. I know for both of us that we get in our own head because we're always kind of chasing this vision and this vision keeps growing. So you're like, we're going to continuously chase it until we fucking have to be buried.
Yeah.
There won't be a retirement and that is it. Like, right. So you just bring like-minded individuals together that bring different, like I said, like I think people want perfect. Like the idea is that you find someone that's 70, 80% of what you want. And that's the morals. That's everything you'd love for deep down in a person, right? And the other 20, 30%, you build it together.
Yeah, I agree. Or the other, everyone's going to have flaws, but you've got to decide what's a non-negotiable flaw or what's a non-negotiable trait.
Yeah.
And then the other trait, like negotiable ones could be a few things that like you're okay with or you can work on together kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a difference between like having non-negotiable traits versus negotiable ones. You can't, you'll paint lot of females are very good at painting this pitch perfect person, but
Oh, so are guys. Yeah, don't worry about it.
yeah, true.
Guys say everything you want to hear.
True. But I think like what you mentioned before in terms of like the love languages, I think that's probably one of the key things to keep a relationship strong and keep it going, right? Like I've seen relationships previously where the love language wasn't reciprocated both ways, or one person didn't understand the love languages and couldn't understand why they weren't getting loved the way they wanted to, but they were giving love in a different way, etc.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say, it kind of comes back to what you said earlier when it's like, it's not 50-50. Like the way that I receive love isn't the way that you receive love. So it's like, sometimes I'm like, why should I give love like that? Because I don't receive it like that. That's not the point. You go out your way to make sure the other person feels loved. That's the idea of it. So you're like, oh, I know Steph really likes this. Haven't done it in a while. That's really bad. Like I should make sure that I do that. Or I should make sure just little things. I know like if most of the time like yours is like, if it's touch and things like that, if it's just like a kiss on the cheek in the morning, if I come up behind you and give you a cuddle or whatever it is and things like that, those little things go a long way. It's not how I receive love, but it's how you receive love. And then vice versa. Mine's like acts of kindness and things like that, right? So it's kind of, it's like...
Just be like me smothering you but never doing anything kind. You wouldn't feel love.
No, exactly. I just be like clingy.
Yeah.
Get off.
And vice versa. If you kept doing nice things for me but never gave me any affection, then I would feel deprived of love.
Exactly,
It's how we, our love languages are different.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
everyone has different love languages.
Yeah.
I think that's how you keep a
And you have to keep
alive.
having that conversation. Like you say, like, have a relationship meeting. Like sit down and be like, are you happy? Do you feel loved? Because like we've said it multiple times. I'm like, if you ever get to the point you're unhappy, whatever it is, we say it like quite extreme, but I'm like, obviously number one, talk about it. But like, if we're very clear in our relationship, if you're ever not fucking happy, fucking leave. Do you know what I mean? 100%. Like you have my permission type of thing. But I think you need to have those conversations and you need to have that constant kind of be like, hey, like, do you feel loved? Like, am I doing, like, can I do more? Can I do less? Whatever it is, just ask.
Yeah. And I think as long as you let the other person, like in a relationship, you need to be your own self as a person, each of you, and then come together in a relationship.
You need your own life.
Yeah. And I guess like if you have a partner that's not letting you be, fulfill your dreams, fulfill your passions, whatever, I think that's probably the quickest way to
get the fuck out.
Yeah, get the fuck out, definitely. But it's the quickest way to kill your own relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I don't know how long we've had from 10 minutes. So I know, is there anything else you want to touch on or anything like that?
What shows are we doing?
Oh, we're going to do that.
Are we going to keep it a secret?
No, we can do that if you want. Go on.
Okay. Well, it's been
14 and a half,
it's been, yes, 14 and a half.
Yeah.
As of the 17th of July, I think today's date is, because it might not be 14 and a half weeks when we post this, but
yeah, true.
But yeah, so we decided to, because we're prepping together, we're going to do the same shows. And in Europe, they have a pro show to each of the amateur shows. So we're going to do 3 back-to-back, and the 3 back-to-back that works out in perfect timing is Spain,
Poland,
and Romania.
Yeah.
And Romania is a big show, so we'll finish it on a bang, of course. So there's so many shows back to back in Europe. So it was, for a while we were roughly aiming for a certain amount of shows. We decided to scrap the first few just because logistics wise and stuff.
And it gives us the initial prep that we wanted. It gives us 20 weeks.
Yeah. And 20 weeks, which is perfect.
So sick, yeah. That's pretty much the game plan. I know we want to do more of this stuff, obviously in studios and stuff as well. I definitely want to make it like a very easy just to come in here and record for an hour and things like that. So I want to make it a consistent thing throughout prep, and obviously just update people, just chat shit with you and things like that. So I know that you want to do it for your side of things as well. So I think we're not going to promise it, but I definitely think we'll keep this very consistent.
Yep. If not, pay attention on my YouTube.
That's true. There you go. So it's cool. I think we're going to sign off, and
yep. Thanks,
easy
guys.
peasy.
So see you again soon, and yeah, we'll see you again soon.
Easy. Happy? Yeah.
That's quite good. Just flowed.
That was fun. Yeah, it was good.